Back in 2011, Kia Motor Company decided that they wanted a complete do-over in the automotive market, and this 2011 Kia Sorento was one of the vehicles that they chose to completely revise in order to complete their quote-unquote do-over. So, was their do-over a fail or was it a success? Well, let's take a look and find out. Now, like I said, my particular example is a 2011 Kia Sorento LX, finished in this rather attractive looking gray exterior. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and start it up. We'll take a look at the interior and the exterior and take it on a detailed test drive. So, here's the key for the Sorento. Not really a fan of this key design. It's just very old looking, and the remote's just not very pretty. It just has no style. You have your lock, unlock, and panic functions, and then you just have your key blade there. So, go ahead and unlock it. And then coming up to the doors, you can see you do have chrome chrome door handles, and you also have an emergency entry slot. So the vehicle is locked right now, and then twist it left to unlock it. Pretty nice little setup. I like how it is connected to the other doors instead of just being a manual lock on this door. And then looking at the interior, it is finished in a pretty attractive looking black cloth. So, to start up the engine, all you need to do is insert the key and twist to start. And what you're hearing is Kia Motors' 2.4 liter inline 4-cylinder, but we'll go over more of that in the engine portion of the video. So let's go ahead and turn on the headlamps, the hazards, and it does have an automatic down and up driver's side window. Doors do sound nice and solid when you shut them, I have to say. You get a nice German wump almost. Taking a look at the exterior of the Sorento, you can see it has been completely redesigned from the previous generation in every way possible. It's been made larger, it's been made more stylish, it's just had a lot of freshness brought to it. So, starting off, you can see, like I said, this one is finished in a grayish pewter exterior, and I apologize the vehicle's so dirty. This is just a loaner vehicle. You do have LED turn signals on the mirror, surprisingly, with a nice little scratch there, and they are body colored. Chrome door handles, as I said, and then you have black plastic body molding running down the entire length of the vehicle. Chrome door handles on the back as well. Fuel filler door right here, and the release is inside. I'll show you where that is in a moment. And taking a look at the tail lamps, Kia pulled an interesting trick with these tail lamps. They are made to look like LED bulbs, but hidden back behind here is just a standard halogen bulb. Now, if you went for the SX model, it was LEDs, but these are just halogen bulbs. You have your amber turn signals there, reverse lamps located in the middle, chrome-plated Sorento badge, and your big Kia badge there. To release the rear deck, just look up underneath this chrome lip here, and you can, or not release the rear deck, release the rear hatch rather, just pull on this rubber membrane. Opening it up, there is a surprising amount of storage area back here. Actually, there's quite a lot. You can see you do have your floor mats back here, and your vehicle's jack and spare tire are located up underneath this removable floor here. You can also store a few things back in there, but I wouldn't go too crazy. They might roll around a little bit. And the rear seats do also fold down. There is no automatic tailgate. I believe that's for higher trim models. You can see you have your LED third brake light up there with your washer nozzle and your rear wiper located there in the middle. This one does have an aftermarket backup camera, so you can see the eye for that right there. You have nice little reflectors on either side of the bumper. It is a black plastic bumper. You can also see where this one has bumped into a few things. This one's not in the best shape cosmetically, but it's not too bad. There's also a couple little scratches over there. Now looking over here, up underneath this black plastic, you do have dual exhaust outlets, but it's just a single exhaust system. So nothing crazy there. Looking at the rims, 235/65 R17s, pretty attractively styled rims, very basic though. Nothing to get too excited about. You can see we're just completely covered in pollen here, that's just nasty. Again, LED turn signals on the mirror, four-wheel disc brakes all the way around, so that is nice. Taking a look at the headlamps, you do have projector beam headlamps with your standard reflector bulbs for your high beams located there in the middle. This one is missing the chrome for the Kia surround. I'm not really sure where that went. Big Kia badge there and traditional Kia styled front end. All of them kind of look like this nowadays. But it's an attractively styled front end. So we'll go ahead and open up the hood and see what powers this beast. I guess you could call it a beast. And to release the hood, all you need to do is just pull on that latch there. And then going around to the front, there are cars driving by everywhere and driving me nuts. Just lift up the very heavy hood. It does have a hood liner, but what you're seeing is Kia's 2.4 liter dual overhead cam, 16 valve inline 4-cylinder. Pretty smooth engine in this application. It's not so smooth in the Sportage that I've reviewed before. You guys remember that video. And it is a lot quieter here, but there are no struts, so you do have to put the prop up. I'll add all the power and fuel economy specifications into the annotations here, and then we'll go ahead and close this hood. Very heavy hood. Sounds pretty solid when you shut it though. So we'll go ahead and move on into the interior and see what it has to offer. Go ahead and roll up the window, turn off the headlamps and the hazards. Now starting off with the top of the door, all the materials in here are hard to the touch, unfortunately. And I think that might be the Sorento's biggest downfall, at least in this generation. I think once a major refresh comes, they'll definitely rectify these issues. But materials are hard on top of the door, which is unfortunate because it would be a great place to rest your elbow. But that hard plastic just isn't quite very comfortable. You do have chrome colored door handles, and then you have this black faux wood accenting right here. I do like that. I have to say it looks pretty good. Here's your door pull right here. It is a little bit flimsy, twistable, and it is scratched up, so I can see these wearing and turning to that nasty black faded plastic over time. You have your power mirrors, power window locks, power door locks, and all 4 power windows. The driver and passenger is automatic up, or the driver is automatic up and down, and the rest of them are just manual. Coming over here, you have your rear wiper controls, which doesn't work. I'm not really sure why, but the rear washer does work. So that's a little bit odd. I'm not really sure what's going on there. It may be a blown fuse or something. Traction control, hill descent control, panel dim. Coming up to the top, all materials up here are hard plastic, every single one of them. Don't really know why. I think that they could have done all of this soft to the touch and gotten away with it perfectly, but I guess they chose otherwise. Up here you have your passenger airbag sensor and your clock, nice in the line of view, so that's a good feature to have. Keep your time right there in front of you. Taking a look at the gauges, they are a pretty nicely done set of gauges, I have to say. Although I'm not quite sure why it went to 150 and why they made it so awkwardly smushed. I don't really like that. I'm not a huge fan. They should have stayed consistent. My OCD bugs me about that. Tachometer over here revs to 6,500 this engine. We'll go ahead and rev it up from the inside a little bit. There is a rev limiter about 4,900 RPM or so. So that's, I guess, nice to have. I think it should have been about 3,500 because you're basically revving the snot out of it there. Then you have your engine temperature and your fuel gauge over there. Coming to the steering wheel, it is not leather wrapped, it's just bare, whatever this material is, I guess it would be rubber. Volume controls, more multifunction controls, mute, hands-free controls, Bluetooth telephone, and then you have your cruise control located over here. Headlamps are located on this stalk, as you saw, and you do get the tap for 3 blinks, so I like that a lot. Here's your wiper controls over here. They work just fine. Like I said, the rear wiper does not work, unfortunately. Not really sure why. Coming down to the center stack, this one does have an aftermarket head unit in it. It's a Pioneer system and it does include navigation, so it's a really good system, I have to say. It works very well. Here you have your standard, very easy HVAC controls, 4 fan speeds, ice cold air conditioning, different zones, and then your temperature selection. You have your AC compressor, defrost, and your recirculate versus fresh air there. You have a little card storage area right there, which is an odd placement for it. I would have imagined it more down here, but I guess whatever they have to do to break up the real estate. Blank buttons right here. I'm assuming heated seats and all that stuff would be there. Coming down here, you have your odd media inputs for this car. You have to have a special connector, which is really strange. I don't like it, but we'll go over how you connect iPods in this particular car with this particular system in just a second. Here's your power outlet, 2 12-volt power outlets right there. This one is, I think it's lit 1 cigarette, this lighter. You can just see some white ash on it, but it doesn't smell like smoke in here, so I'm not complaining. Here's your shifter for your 6-speed automatic. Don't really like this shifter. It's kind of stumpy and clunky and just weird. It's got like makeup all over it or something. Pop it over into sport mode, and then you have manual shiftability just by rocking it back and forth. And putting it into reverse, like I said, does reveal a reverse backup camera. So that is nice, and it is nice and low to the ground, so you know exactly where everything is. 2 very large cup holders surrounded in chrome rings right here. Everything down here, hard plastics, but they're grained fairly well. Coming to the center console, the top of the center console, it is more or less hard to the touch. It's like maybe 1 layer of foam covered in vinyl with some stitching down the middle. Not a huge fan of this design. Opening it up reveals quite a lot of storage area. You can see this removable tray has a lot of storage for CDs, and then you could like put pins or something up there. No power outlets in here though, which I don't like. You do have a cloth liner down there at the bottom as well. So pretty well appointed center console, if I can figure out how to put this back. There it goes. The lid is not sure-footed at all, but the center console itself is quite sure-footed. It's not going anywhere, and sounds nice and solid. Now, coming to the media inputs on this car. When I opened up the glove box this morning, I found this. These are my cables, but I found this connector in here, and you have to have your USB plugged in and your auxiliary cord plugged in before it'll play your music, which I don't really like, but stereo is okay. There wasn't any stereo work done to this car. It was just the head unit, which, very good head unit. I'd put it in a car that doesn't come with navigation, because navigation seems to be pretty good on it. But this is kind of a hassle, not really a fan. Seat material is kind of scratchy, and they aren't the most comfortable things in the world, but we'll touch more on that on the test drive portion of the video. Finishing off the door materials, you can see you do have a stitched leather armrest, which by stitched leather I mean vinyl. Another door pull right here. Materials, all of them hard to the touch. There's your fuel filler release door. I'll go ahead and pop that. It does make a nice clunk, and by nice I mean not nice. You have this very hollow sounding material on the door, and it is rather flexible, I have to say. You do have a water bottle storage area over there, so that's pretty nice. Manual seat adjustment all the way around. It is a little difficult to find a driving position. Coming up, you have your sunglasses storage, interior lighting, sun visors with mirror and vanity light that you have to turn on. It's not going to do it for you, but when you close it, it'll turn it off. You can see how it did that. I think that's a Kia thing. Same thing goes for the passenger side. I wish it was automatic, but I don't know why they chose to go otherwise. Non-auto dimming rear view mirror. Not a huge fan of that. You just have to flip this little tab, which isn't a big deal. I guess I'm just spoiled by the luxuries of the cars that I'm used to driving. But this one has quite a lot for a $24,000 sticker price. Very, very well appointed car, especially for $24,000 and all the room you get. And we'll go ahead and shut the engine down and check out the back seat. But before we check the back seat out, I will show you the fuel cap. It's just a plastic lid. Runs on regular fuel. It doesn't need premium. Tighten until one click. Just your standard fuel cap stuff. You all know how to put gas in a car. Moving around to the back seat. Back seats are pretty roomy from the looks of things back here. They are fairly comfortable too. Throw the keys in the cup holder there. The seats, first off, I'm noticing they do recline. You just lift up on this tab and they'll recline pretty far back if you don't have the cargo cover in here, but since this one does have the cargo cover, it's not going to go quite as far. But once you get into the back seats, they're pretty comfortable. That's where I'd have the seat to drive at about 6 foot, give or take. And you can see foot room is plentiful, knee room just enough. You do have map pockets on both sides. I think these look a little cheap though. They probably should have gone with something else. You do have a 12-volt power outlet back here, and air vents are located on the B pillar instead of on the center console, so that's an interesting touch. And they do rotate like that, and you can turn them off and on with this little rotary knob here. Materials follow through exactly the same: hard touch, faux wood, hard touch, stitched vinyl, window switch, door pull, and hard touch down here as well. So not a huge fan of the hard touch materials. I think that's this car, or just, I think the materials are this car's biggest downfall. Sorry, I got really tongue-tied. But it's definitely a step in the right direction for Kia. Headrests are adjustable. You can see they're designed a lot like the ones in Jeep Liberties of current generation. You do have blank handles on 3 doors, but the driver's just has to hang on to the steering wheel and pray to God that you won't fall out of the car or something. Interior lighting right here, pretty easy operation. There are bugs up in there though, so that's kind of gross. Center armrest does fold down, and it is very nicely padded and stitched in the seat material, and it folds away just like that. So pretty nice center armrest. Cup holders do appear to be a little on the small side, but they're not too bad. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and set up some tripods, and we'll take it for a test drive. So let's go ahead and get started on this beautiful sunny afternoon. And first thing that you'll notice when you get into this Sorento to drive is how different it is looking out over the hood of this Sorento. It's just, it sits, can't talk. The hood sits up very, very high, especially compared to other vehicles in this class. The hood just, you see a lot of it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because you always know where the front of the car is. And it does help with distinguishing where the corners are as well. And speaking of corners, tackling these corners, the Sorento is surprisingly not too bad. It's a very capable little handling SUV. The steering itself is as numb gets, but the precision is not bad at all, and body lean is definitely kept to a minimum. It's just a very it feels sporty, and it feels a lot more sporty than that Sportage I drove, honestly. The suspension is pretty tightly tuned, so it feels very capable in the handling department. I don't think you would be bored going up a mountain road in this, but I don't think it would just light you on fire and you'd have the most fun in the world with it either. It's just a pretty well-sprung SUV and feels very light on its toes. Now, I did say that the suspension was a little sharper tuned, and that can go both ways. The bumps in this car, you feel every single one of them. You feel every little uneven surface that the road has, and it's not the best ride in the world, but it is a little more sporty than others. So, you take your pick. It depends on what you like and what your driving style is. And once we pull out here, I will go ahead and put my foot down. I'll pop it over into sport mode. I won't manual shift it though. But while we're waiting on traffic, we'll go ahead and talk about interior comfort. The interior of this car is not the most comfortable thing in the world, I have to say. The driving position is a little awkward. It feels like the steering wheel is pushed a little bit too far to the left to me. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I just can't find a comfortable position. I can't get enough thigh support in the seat when I'm driving. It just feels like it's gonna try to dump me forward, and I don't like that too much. But we'll go ahead and put our foot down here. And that was 60 miles an hour right there. And off the line, this thing is punchy, especially for a little 2.4 liter. I am impressed with how much power this thing has. I know the numbers aren't the greatest, but it feels very, very perky. Feels agile and ready to go. But once it shifts out of first gear and into second, it kind of falls off a cliff. And then once it goes from second to third, it really falls off a cliff. Your power then is basically gone. There's not really any power left at all, honestly. So I'm not a fan of that, really. I wish they would have tuned the suspension, or not the suspension, the transmission a little bit better, but it's not too bad. I have to say, it's a pretty fun way to get around town. The engine produces a pretty nice little bark. That was 50 miles an hour there. And the engine sounds pretty good for a little 2.4 liter four-cylinder that has no modern technologies and is a relatively old design. It doesn't sound bad at all, and it sounds a whole lot better than it did in the Sportage that I had for a couple of weeks several months ago. Just did not really enjoy that engine at all. The engine and transmission and that didn't seem like they were paired together very well, but this one feels pretty good. Transmission, I wish it could help the engine get its power down a little bit more efficiently, but it's not too bad. Like I said, it falls off a cliff. Ergonomics wise, this interior is very user-friendly. Your HVAC controls are right where you expect them to be. You have your radio within reach, and you have your clock right up there. Turn signal stalks don't feel too far away. They're nicely weighted as well. Steering wheel controls are exactly where you'd expect them to be, so that is good. I like that. But going around this corner, it really doesn't roll a whole lot. And under normal acceleration, this thing has more than enough power. Passing power on the highway, I could see where you'd have to plan your passes a little bit carefully. I don't think you'd have to be super worried about them per se, but I do think that you need to be mindful and make sure that it is going to be capable on the highway. Like I said, seats aren't the most comfortable thing. I wish for more thigh support and some more lumbar support, and the seats are just very flat and hard, so I'm not a huge fan of that. Road noise, you heard, very quiet. This is a very quiet car. With a loud four-cylinder under the hood, it's really quiet. It's very well insulated. The cabin is well isolated from what's going on outside the car. Just a very nice SUV, and especially considering the money that you pay for these, you really can't go wrong buying one. So, to answer my question at the beginning of the video, was Kia's do-over successful or was it a flop? I would call it successful. I don't think this one's quite where it needs to be in terms of the competition, such as Ford Explorer, Dodge Durango, stuff like that. But this is very close, and considering the money, I can definitely see why somebody would opt for the Sorento as opposed to the more expensive competition. Because if you go for an SX V6 model, you get a ton of equipment for not a whole lot of money. So that about concludes the tour and test drive on this 2011 Kia Sorento. I hope you guys were as impressed with this vehicle as I was, because I think it's very well done for what it is. But anyways, that about wraps it up. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and thanks for watching.